you wanna go. Na 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 na. Makes you wanna go.
Hey. Hello, Mikki G. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Golden Bronze. How are you today?
I am fine, all things considered. It's a beautiful day, and we woke up this morning, so
That's
hey,
right.
that's good enough for me, you know? I want to thank everybody for joining Gab with Golden Bronze. We appreciate your stopping in to see us today. You could have been anywhere, and we realize that. So we do appreciate that you took the time out of your day to see what we're gabbing about. Gab with Golden Bronze sponsors Golden Swan Cadre, which is a 501c3 domestic nonprofit organization that advocates against domestic violence towards women. We also advocate for women's health issues, inclusive of maternity health, mental health, self-care, and mindfulness. And Golden Swan Cadre supports once they get discharged from domestic violence centers and start out on their single family head of household journeys. We help them with whatever their needs list is and also adopting one room in their home or apartment to alleviate some of that financial burden. Not only that, we are support to some of the domestic violence centers because they also call on us for their needs list. We put together 4 Thanksgiving baskets a year, and we give those baskets from turkeys to all the condiments and sides to 4 families within the communities that are victims of domestic violence. So that's what we're all about, and we would appreciate your support. $1 to 1,000, whatever your pockets can afford. We hope that you have it in your heart to see that our purpose is something that is needed in the communities that we serve and donate to us.
Well, thank you for that, Golden Bronze. That is excellent information and well-needed donations. Well, I will tell you, you can hear our show on Village Global Network, powered by Zeno FM, with additional monitoring through online radio box on the following stations: Radio Furcio, Culture Shock Radio, Rockbox FM, and Wapter Music. You may now see our talk show on DuPont TV Network, brought to you by the Village Global Network TV at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 noon Central Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time, and 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Be sure to tune in, and we'll see you there.
And I am so excited about that. That is such a great opportunity.
Yes.
So, go ahead, Mikki. I'm so sorry.
No, I said yes, indeed. It is.
Yes. So, everybody, we're just really down to earth and try to be transparent and not all stuffy. And we decided to do something very fun today for you guys. We are going to talk about fashion trends for 2024. Fashion trends for 2024 are really shaping up to be eclectic mix of futuristic innovation, nostalgic references, and sustainability-driven choices. So we're going to start with, first of all, bold and metallic futuristic materials are what is used with the fabrics. Metallic tones like silver and gold and iridescent shades. They're making really, really big waves in the fashion industry for 2024. These materials add a modern futuristic edge to clothing, often seen in both streetwear and in high fashion collections. They also are trending to tech fabrics such as smart textiles and eco-friendly innovations. Those are on the rise, also blending in with style and functionality. So it's really kind of an edgy trend. What do you think about that, Mikki?
Well, I have seen a lot of these things on different fashion shows, shows that discuss fashion. I won't drop the names of those places, but I have seen some of those trends. And also, it reminds me of back in the 80s when the disco era was going on, and they had a lot of those metallics, the silver and golds, because it picked up the light from the disco ball.
Right.
But I do remember that's a trend that is probably modernized now, but it's not new. It's just done in an innovative way.
Right.
Also, when you're talking about the eco-friendly textiles, it makes a lot of sense as far as global warming and conserving things and conserving energy and recycling fabrics, recycling plastics, recycling different materials to make fabrics. And I think that that's very responsible and very creative of the designers that put those things together.
And you know that you're absolutely right. I need to tell the audience, Mikki is an ex full figured model, and fashion is one of her expertises. So she kind of knows what she's talking about. And when we get further into some of our broadcasting, we'll go into some of my expertises, which is more business stuff. But I always wanted to be a model. I just wasn't tall enough.
You're definitely pretty enough, though.
Well, thank you, sweetheart. I could have been about a foot taller, or at least 7 inches taller, maybe.
Yeah.
So the next thing that they say that's trending in 2024 is the oversized silhouettes. Voluminous clothing, you know, big, loose, oversized jackets and baggy pants and exaggerated shapes that seems to continue to dominate the fashion scene. These pieces often offer both comfort, and they are when they're loose and baggy, and offer a statement of making aesthetic baggy denim and wide leg trousers look popular, paired with fitted tops for balance. And we know that was what, the 70s?
Yes. The mid to late 70s with the elephant pants and the high-waisted jeans and things like that. Now, the voluminous jackets, I don't know if I can really get with that, but that's just my personal preference because it just makes you look bigger, or it makes a small person look smaller, like they're lost in their clothes. But I guess it just depends on the person who's wearing it. But we can talk a lot more about that in just a moment. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come right back.
All right.
All right. Thank you for coming back and joining us some more so we can continue this conversation about fashion.
Okay. And so since we want to touch on a couple of topics, I'm going to go 2 at a time.
Okay.
So I did some research about YK2 revival. You might be able to elaborate on this a little more to help us all have an understanding of it. But in the early 2000s, aesthetics, they remain influential into 2024 with trends like, and I think you already touched on it. You might have said high-rise jeans, but this is in the early 2000s. They said it was low-rise jeans, baby tees, and cargo pants. The trend for 2024 is that they're coming back. Shiny materials, butterfly motifs, and playful accessories such as tinted sunglasses, which I like to wear a lot of those myself, and mini bags and core elements of nostalgic revival. So, hip us to that.
I've seen some of the designers with these tiny bags, very tiny bags, and they must strictly be for fashion because I don't know what you can carry in them.
Yes.
And the low-rise jean, that's a kind of a compromising kind of a jean because if it's too low, then you're showing a lot more of your body that you didn't intend to, especially bending over, sitting down, to be delicate about it. And what I was speaking about were the high-waisted jeans that came almost up to your rib cage.
I remember, yes.
That we had back then. But now they're making a more mid-rise and full rise up the waist, so you don't have those embarrassing things happening when you're bending, when you're sitting, and that you're not exposing your body. Right. So they are coming back around to something that's a little bit more covered. You said something about the baby tees.
The baby tees and the tinted sunglasses, which I wear a lot of those tinted sunglasses now.
Yes. Now, yes, I am a person who loves a lot of sunglasses. I have a collection of sunglasses.
Me too.
Although now they need to be prescription, but that's a whole other story.
I know, right?
Yeah, so I love it. It actually accentuates what you're wearing.
Yes.
It speaks to your personality, what you want to portray that day. If you want to be
Yes.
bold, if you want to be demure, you can play it up in your sunglass collection.
And I even have those that match what I have on, like pink tinted, blue tinted.
Right.
I play with it. So this is more me, the tailored minimalist. They said that that's a trend for 2024 for a more polished look, clean lines, and tailored pieces. They're trending again. This includes structured blazers, tailored trousers, and monochromatic looks, neutral tones, especially shades of beige, camel, and cream. And they are key in creating minimalist efforts or effortless outfits. They go with generally that color with any other color.
Right. Well, I think classic things don't go out of style, and you can always accentuate them with something even modern. Just like the monotone fabrics, the beiges and things, you can add a pop of color to those and change it up from being just a basic outfit. Necklines, jewelry can change all those things up. But when you start with um, a palette that's neutral, there's so much you can do with it. My favorite thing is just a pop of color with
Yeah.
everything that you're having, whether it's black or white or neutral, add a pop of color and it really makes it stand out. It makes a statement.
Exactly. So this is just the opposite. I'm very conservative, and I stick with the blacks and reds and beige and real simple stuff. I try to add a pop of color here or there, but this probably is you. Maximalist prints and colors, bold artistic prints, which gain a lot of momentum with designers using abstract patterns. And I say that because of the top that you have on today. Graphic motifs and vibrant florals. In contrast to a minimalist, which is what I consider myself to be, there's also a trend toward vivid colors. And you just said that, like electric blues, which like what you have on, neon greens and fiery reds used to make powerful fashion statements, right?
Yes, indeed. And you pretty much hit it on the head as far as I'm concerned. I do like to take chances and risks with fashion. Some things don't serve me well as far as bold prints. Some of the prints make me look bigger than I want to look, or even the cut or the fit of an outfit. You have to be careful about what you're putting on as far as that's concerned. But yes, I think that it's a personality statement. It's an expression statement when you're wearing certain things. And either way, conservative or bold are beautiful choices, and none of them are wrong. None of them are bad. It just depends on how you want to present yourself, how you want to be seen in the world, and how you express yourself with fashion.
I believe you're exactly right. Your character. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So now they have a lot of gender fluid fashions, what we used to call unisex and gender neutral fashions. They continue to grow with more brands embracing fluid designs. Expect to see collections that blend with masculine and feminine styles together, with items like flowy skirts, tailored suits, and oversized sweaters worn across genders. Have you noticed a lot of that?
I have. Now, I will say back, I think in the 70s, I think that's when we came out with the shoulder pads and the tailored suits for women, kind of the menswear look. We even wore neckties. And
Are
the
those
cut
coming back
was,
in?
I think that they may be coming back in. The look was very tailored to the body, but now I'm seeing men in skirts. I don't think I like that.
No.
Men with handbags and men in dresses, and I, for my taste, I can't really appreciate that.
Right.
But it is a trend that's trending, and maybe it'll trend in and trend out. But I have seen that unisex kind of thing, but I think it's good in moderation.
Okay. Well, they talk about sustainable and upcycled fashions, and I don't have any clue what that is, but they say it's eco-conscious fashion, and that is very trendy and strong in 2024. The designers are increasingly focusing on upcycling, using recycled materials. Oh, I think I did see that on TV where this guy had a store where he used recycled materials from things that people threw away. He would take it and clean it up and turn it into some trendy fashion piece. But they said that people use recycled materials and implementing more sustainable product processes. So I think I heard you say something earlier about plastics, and you might want to elaborate just to reinforce with me and the audience what you meant by that, because that was like news to me.
Okay, I have seen that on a fashion competition show,
Mhm.
and I'm going to elaborate as to what that is when we come back. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with you.
Okay.
All right, thank you for rejoining us. As I was stating, when Golden Braun asked me about the recyclable materials, I remember seeing a fashion competition show where they would use repurposed materials. They would give them things like things you can get off of a fishing dock, or something that they use in traffic road construction, and they'd have to repurpose it and make it fashion, but not make it look just like its original form, but make it
Yes.
look like something different that you wouldn't even think that it was what it originally was, such as reflectors of a bicycle reflectors,
Oh, wow.
or um, jute, or that rope kind of fabric for tying up boats, or fishing line, or different things
Oh,
like that. They would take and repurpose and make it avant-garde sometimes, which is something that is new and hasn't been seen before. So I have seen them do that on some of the fashion competition shows. It forces the designer to be very creative, because the judges want to see something that doesn't look like you stuck a reflector here and a reflector there. It has to look like fashion.
that's creative and innovative, actually.
Yes.
Well, I know they have these high-end vintage secondhand stores, and I ventured into one day, and it was very high-end, like a Chanel purse secondhand was like $2,000. But vintage and secondhand fashion are also very popular now, with people mixing old and new pieces to create unique environmental friendly outfits. So yeah, I try to do that, but I'm not paying $2,000 for some, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that makes sense. A lot of people are going into thrift stores and finding vintage things, which is trendy, and they make their own statement
Mhm.
based on what they find in those stores, and they make what's old look new again. I've actually shopped in some of them and found some great pieces. One of my favorite jackets, one of my favorite outdoor coats, came from a thrift store, and I love it. It's like my favorite coat. Such a great fit, and the quality is good. So sometimes when you reach back there, you find good quality.
I have gone into a few of the vintage secondhand fashion stores and looked around. Um, I think once I bought one from a veterans um, to help the Veterans Association. It was a long formal dress, but I do have trouble sometimes finding something that is my size in stores like that. But they are, they say that sheer fabrics and cutouts are very popular in 2024, like chiffon and mesh. They're being used to create ethereal laid looks. Cut out details and tops and dresses and even pants offer a bold skin bearing edge to other classic styles, like people are cutting holes or wearing clothing with the sides out or the back out very, very low and stuff like that,
Right.
and barely
Well,
covering up the front kind of
yeah.
thing.
It's kind of a peekaboo kind of a thing where you're not showing everything, but it leaves something to the imagination.
Hmm.
I actually have a few dresses with the side cutouts, but I don't want to bear everything. And so that's just a little bit of a self-expression kind of a thing.
Hmm.
But I have seen those kinds of trends happening. And they're very well, they're tastefully done in a lot of areas. So yeah.
Yes. Well, athletic leisure wear continues to evolve with a focus on luxury sportswear. It's not always so casual. The trend is to think high end with sneakers, tailored joggers, sporty jackets combined with formal items like blazers and button-up shirts. Like people will wear a onesie exercise outfit, ladies, and then when put a jacket over it and some heels, or sneakers. They go with pants and suits and sundresses and things that we didn't used to mix together. They are now mixing them together, and I do that a lot myself. I have become more casual since I left the office environment, but I do like to mix up a dress with some cute expensive sneakers. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think the rule is that there's no rules.
Right.
You just do what you want to do as far as that's concerned. There is a trend that our current vice president,
Mhm.
they say pearls and chucks, pearls
Mhm.
and chucks, and those are the Chuck Taylor sneakers. And
Right.
so that's a mix of complete opposite things. You would not normally wear pearls with chucks. You would wear pearls with high heels, etc. But the rule is there's really no rules. And if you can find things that fit well, that's a plus. I have the same struggle. I'm quite tall, and so it's hard to find pants that come all the way down. If I see them and order them online, they're up to my ankles, and I need them to come down to my shoes. And so some of those battles we have in fashion, but when you find what you like, you should grab it and wear it with a lot of courage and expression.
And I have the opposite challenge. When I buy pants, I can never wear them first. They go
Yeah,
to the tailor to be an inch cut off of them or something like that.
yeah.
So I appreciate your challenge because I have the same when it comes to clothes. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about was accessories and trends, like chunky jewelry, like what I decided to wear today, and including oversized chains, statements of big earrings. That's making a big comeback and an impact. Micro bags, like you talked about, the little bitty bags,
Yeah.
those have to be just to be making a fashion statement because you can't put anything in them. Then on the other side of that, they have the oversized totes and oversized purses. That's very popular in 2024. And belts are becoming more of a focal point, especially wide waist cinching belts that add structure to loose fitting clothing. You could put them on the inside of a jacket or outside of a dress. So, you just have to be creative with that as well. In 2024, fashion is about embracing your individuality with a strong emphasis on sustainability, comfort, and bold expressions of yourself. So people dress now according to how they feel, not so much what society says is the norm in fashion for 2024.
Right. Just like the song says, it's your thing. Do what
Yes,
you want to do.
it's your
I
fashion.
can't tell you. So you know the rest of the song.
Yes.
But that's really the trend right now in fashion. It's your thing. It's
Mhm.
your decision how you present yourself to the world, how you want to be seen, and the expression that you want to make. And so this is a wonderful conversation about fashion that I just love. But I tell you what, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. All right. Thank you for joining us again, Golden Bronze.
Yes, so we wanted to touch on children and cell phones. More children are receiving cell phones at a younger age in 2024. It's common for children as young as 8 to 10 years old to have a cell phone, to have more than one device of their own, driven by, there's some concerns driven by safety, parental convenience, and the growing reliance on technology and education and the safety of children with cell phones. Smartphones for kids are often simplified versions of the adult version, and they really need to be monitored with parental controls, limited apps, and monitoring tools, allowing the parents to stay in touch with and ensure their child's safety while limiting them to what they're exposed to. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's kind of a loaded subject. Right now, I've heard in the news they're talking about children on social media and they have it on their phones and how it's not helping them mentally and their mental health. There has been talk about screen time for children, that is not good for their development. When they should be reading books, their eyes are on a screen. And with your nursing background, you might know something about this, how it might affect the body or the brain when they're on screen time all the time. So that would be a con. But a pro is also if they have an emergency. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of shootings in schools. So in order to stay in touch with their parents or call for help, I can see the phones being beneficial. But then at what age? So there's so many sides to that that we can discuss. But those are the things that come to my mind first.
And speaking of screen time and mental health, excessive use of cell phones has been linked to increased risks of anxiety, depression, and sleep disorders. You know, that blue light. If
Right.
kids are on the cell phone late at night, then they're not getting a good night's sleep, not resting, and not alert in school the next day. The addictive nature of apps and social media platforms makes it challenging for children to regulate the use of it and control their mental health. There's also an impact on social and emotional development, since you brought that up too. There's concerns that excessive smartphone use among children might affect their social skills. You notice kids nowadays don't have the social skills that we had. They're always just looking in a phone. They don't communicate and talk to each other. We have to be concerned about emotional regulation and the ability to form healthy face-to-face relationships. Some experts worry that constant access to devices could impede critical thinking skills and reduce opportunities for unstructured play. Like, remember how we used to go out and have recess and gym and stuff like that. And on the flip side of that, smartphones can foster social connections. That can be a positive, especially for children in distant locations or with special needs. Many children also use smartphones for creative expression, such as photography, video editing, music creation, like TikTok and stuff like that. So it has its pros and cons as far as that emotional development goes.
Right. Well, you make very good points on that. I was listening to each one of those and thinking, yes, I want to elaborate. But I will go to one particular one that stood out to me is social interactions in person. Do they know how to look someone in the eye? Do they know how to shake someone's hand? Do they know how to communicate in a conversation as we're doing right now? Or is it
Mhm.
all texting? You know, I have a young person in my life who only wants to be texted to, but not spoken to on the phone. So how do they operate in the real world, in business, and other social connections, going to banquets or conferences or whatever, when you're networking? How do you do that if you don't know how to speak to people in person, in real life? You prefer to text. So that's something that the younger kids are coming up, they're up against right now.
Exactly, because in many schools, they are integrating smartphones into their teaching practices using apps and digital platforms and certain types of Microsoft computers. I forget what they're called right off the top of my head, but they have access to these educational apps through these certain computers that they give the kids to take home. Like we used to do homework with pencil and paper. Now they do it on the computer that the school provides through the internet, so they have virtual classrooms now that they, do instead of face-to-face interaction and a variety and an array of online resources that we didn't have. However, there are concerns about the digital distractions during school hours, leading many schools to implement stricter policies whereas cell phones are, required or, involved. Sometimes they'll make them turn them off while they're in school, or some schools will make them turn them in, until the end of the day, you
Right,
know.
right. Because I would see that being a distraction or a disruption sometimes in class. And some students are so addicted to it that they could be combative if you try to take it from them. They're
Yes.
so tied to the
Yes.
phone. And also, you may be able to speak to this from your nursing background. I would imagine that if they're on the phone all the time, their heads are in this position,
Yes.
and that may have a problem with their spinal development. I'm just, their bodies are still growing, and then they have their head in this position all the time. What does that do to their growing bodies?
Absolutely. Ergonomics is very, very crucial. And even with people that work in an office that are looking down at the keyboard like that all day, they end up with cervical disorders. And if not that, muscle strain, and it can cause headaches and other things. So you make a very valid point with that. But, as we're talking about kids and cell phones, as children become more active online, they are exposed to cybersecurity risks such as data breaches and scams and cyberbullying, which causes some kids to do terrible things like commit suicide. Parents and schools are increasingly focusing on teaching digital literacy. So these kids will know the difference in reality and a scam, and online safety to help children navigate the internet safely. There are a lot of privacy concerns with kids and cell phones.
Right, right. Well, you mentioned children possibly being bullied
Mhm.
over the internet. There are, what do they call them? I guess digital bullies, for lack of a better word. They're behind the screen and they can be very bold, saying whatever they want
Mhm.
because they're behind the screen. And how does a child who is developing socially, who's developing mentally, come across that way?
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to take a break and talk more about it when we come back.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for coming back with us. What I was saying is that how do they develop emotionally, and how do they develop their self-esteem? They're at that point, a lot of young ones, that's where their growth is happening at that stage where people are bullying them online, embarrassing them in front of their peers, outing them, exposing them, or calling them names. And how do you combat that when it goes out to social media to the masses and you're one person that's trying to struggle to combat bullying? I know
Right.
about bullying in person when I was a child, but cyberbullying is a whole other monster.
And that was the other thing I was going to mention. I'm going to bullet some of these points for the sake of time, as it is of essence. But that's where parental controls and monitoring come into effect. We have to make sure that parents are monitoring, and a lot of them don't. They just give the kids the cell phone. They have no clue who they're talking to. And the same with gaming. If they're really talking to a kid or an adult, there's a lot of usage with children with social media, and we have to monitor that, or we should do our due diligence with monitoring children at least up to age 16. By that time, surely, they will have picked up some social media etiquette and aware of the risk factors involved with that. But however, having a cell phone does help children stay connected with family and friends. It also, as you mentioned, like in cases of emergencies, it allows them to be able to either text, video call, or call people for help when they need it. And it's become a very primary mode of communication with children with their parents. However, some worry about the reliance on digital communication that could weaken, like we talked about, interpersonal skills, reducing children's ability to engage in meaningful face-to-face conversation, which I find myself that they do lack those skills of actually being able to hold down conversations with not just their parents and friends, but other people in society as well.
Right.
So, yeah. And the cultural and economic considerations of children having cell phones is very important because access to smartphones for children varies across social economic backgrounds. Like maybe the lesser, how I would put this, the disadvantaged children in the communities will not have cell phones. And whereas the more advantaged community has access to all of the digital resources. And in some communities, smartphones are seen as an essential tool for education and social integration, whereas in other schools, they may not have the funding, the proper funding to, excuse me, allow the children to have that same, privilege. While in other economic constraints, limited access exists, what I just said. So culturally, the role of smartphones in children is also being shaped by different societal values, different economical statuses. And in some regions, phones are seen as necessary tools for independence and learning, while in others, there's a stronger focus on limiting screen time and encouraging offline activities more so than online activities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I just want to see children play. I just want to see them be free souls. I want to see them have a full life that's not tethered to a phone, although, as you said, they're necessary in today's society. And the inequity of the two socioeconomical groups, that should be balanced. And there should be responsible education as to how to use cell phones, what they're good for, what the drawbacks are. Parents should be educated and be responsible with their children and not try to be friends with their children, but instruct their children as to how they want them to use those phones responsibly. Put the parental controls on the phones, where they can't access certain things and certain things can't access them.
Amen, amen. So as you've noticed, like with the TikTok dilemma and the Congress getting involved in that, the legislation, governments in many countries are responding to the rise of children's smartphone usage by introducing policies to protect their rights and well-being. Age restrictions are now imposed. Screen time guidelines pop up. It will say, do you want to take a break? I get that on mine. And stronger rules around advertising to children are some of the legislative trends that has happened in 2024. There's also increased focus on their mental health support for children affected by excessive screen time, cyberbullying, which we talked about, and social media pressures. And as we wrap up this topic so we can close out, in 2024, children with cell phones are part of a broader discussion about how to balance the benefits of technology with the potential risks involved. As mobile devices become even more integrated into their everyday life, society continues to adapt its strategies for ensuring children's safety, their well-being, and healthy development in the digital age, which is the most important of all, is to make sure that throughout all of this technology and access to cell phones and digital devices, that they develop normally in society. And that's the end of the topic of children with cell phone. And we will let you, Mikki G, close us out.
Okay. We thank you again for joining us on Gab with Gold & Bronze. We know that you could have been anywhere, you could have spent your time any other way, but you chose to join us, and we thank you for that. I'll remind you that you can hear our show on Village Global Network by Zeno FM with additional monitoring through online radio box on the following stations: Radio Forcio, Walk Through Music, Rockbox FM, and Culture Shock Radio. You may now see our talk show brought to you by Village Global Network TV. Be sure to tune in, and we'll see you there.
And I want to thank you personally for stopping in with Gab with Gold & Bronze. We have some terrific topics to talk about for the rest of the week. I appreciate you very much, and have a blessed day.
Ha ha ha.